Alright, hello and welcome to this boss guide for the Abomination. The Abomination is the first boss you'll encounter in the Monolith of Fate, showing up in the Fall of the Outcast timeline. It's one of the easiest bosses in the Monolith, but it still has been a challenge for many players, so hopefully with this guide you'll have a much easier time of dealing with the Abomination. The Abomination has 3 damage types you have to worry about: physical, necrotic, and fire, so make sure you have adequate protections for all of those damage types. There are also some modifiers that you should avoid while you're going through the Monolith of Fate, particularly Frenzy and Haste on hit, Enrage, Armor and Prots as a percentage of health, and Deadly if not damaged recently. Now, some builds might wish to avoid other modifiers, depending on how they're made. Certain modifiers are much worse for certain builds, while others are much better. If you'd like more information on this, see How to Succeed in the Monolith of Fate, another video that I've made recently. Alright, let's talk about the boss, particularly what mechanics you have to deal with. The boss has 2 phases. The first phase, there are 4 soul vessels that need to be destroyed before the boss takes damage. One is in each corner of the room. Each soul vessel has a low to moderate damage necrotic beam attack that can be dodged, but builds with good necrotic protection, and regen may choose to stand in it to do more damage to the soul vessels. Once a soul vessel is destroyed, it covers 1/4 of the map minus the center octagon in a necrotic dot, so move away from it quickly once you've destroyed the soul vessel. The boss will pursue you during this phase and can use all of his abilities. The player can either choose to deal with these mechanics while taking out each vessel, or transition from one vessel to another, whittling them down and moving on when the boss gets close. Note the latter method will not work if the player has chosen the modifier Enemies Heal if they have not been damaged recently, as it will cause the soul vessels to regen all of their health by the time you return. Once you've got the soul vessels down, you reach phase 2. In phase 2, the boss can now be damaged. You'll need to stand in the octagon at the center of the map, or the necrotic dot on the ground will kill you. And the boss itself has 5 mechanics to worry about. The first one is a physical boulder that travels underground, popping up where you were standing when it was cast. The boulder does low to moderate damage, but it is the most difficult attack to see. It can be avoided by moving away when the Abomination slams the ground. The boss also has a low to moderate necrotic and possibly physical swipe attack. It's more of a gear check, but can be avoided by staying well out of melee range. Every once in a while, the boss will put out necrotic AoE circles, which will slowly chase the player. They're easily avoided, but they have very high damage and will kill a player who stands in it, so make sure to avoid them. The circles will disappear after a period of time. The boss also has a necrotic ranged attack. The boss fires out 3 spirits, 1 directly in front of the Abomination and another 2 at 45-degree angles from the first spirit. The spirits gain more damage the farther they travel. They reach full damage at the peak of their travel, then return quickly to the Abomination. Getting hit by the outward traveling spirits will generally not do too much damage to the player, but getting hit by the return can be deadly. There are 2 strategies to avoid this attack. The first is to move to behind the boss immediately after the spirits are cast, and the second is to stand between the spirits before they start their return. The last attack that the boss has is a fire AoE. The boss charges up a circle of fire around him, then shortly after charges a wide line of fire both in front of and behind him. The attack is moderate to high damage and also applies an ignite dot. It can be avoided relatively easily, just look for the attack, wind up, and get out of the way. Alright, that covers everything that this boss has. It's a relatively simple fight once you break it down. It doesn't take too long to figure out all the mechanics on it. If you've enjoyed this content, I have quite a bit more on the channel, including some more upcoming boss guides. I also stream about 5 to 6 days a week. Feel free to come in, join me, talk about the game, talk about strategies, look at some of the builds I'm working on. We have a good time in there pretty much every day. And I also have a Discord if you'd like to talk more about the bosses or other things Last Epoch related, or even other ARPG related. Thank you so much. Have a great time on Last Epoch.